हम लोगों ने substitution reactions करा था, right? And we did all the kind of substitutions which were possible. जिसमें what were we doing? Substitution reaction means that we are going to substitute the halogens by some other nucleophile. तो we did yesterday कि जितना easy होता है for any leaving group to leave, उतना ही easy होता है for the attacking nucleophile to attack. Now what we are going to do today, this is very important with respect to your competitions also, because इसमें से from this section we expect one question in boards as well as in your competitions. So please focus yourself and concentrate on what we are doing today, because we are going to do certain shifts also and certain mechanisms also which are going to be very, very important. Now when we are doing mechanism of nucleophilic substitution reactions, the nucleophilic substitution reactions may follow two different paths. ठीक है? The first one which we are going to discuss, that is known as SN2 mechanism. Okay? Now what do you understand by SN2? S over here signifies substitution, N is nucleophilic, and 2 over here, this is going to signify bimolecular reaction. Okay, so this reaction is basically going to be known as bimolecular reaction, or it is said to follow second order kinetics. Okay, so SN2 over here, it is going to follow second order kinetics. In this particular mechanism, it is seen that simultaneously the leaving group that is going to leave and the attacking of the nucleophile that is going to take place from the backside. So there is one intermediate which is going to be formed when we are doing SN2 mechanism. Okay, so let's see what is happening over here. If in case we are having, say we have CH3Br और इसके साथ हम OH negative को अटैक करते हैं, this is going to give us an intermediate formation. Now you know over here that bromine over here, that is going to be what? That is going to be negatively charged. So the lone pair of electrons, they will, or the shared pair of electrons, they will shift towards bromine. जब वो इसकी तरफ को शिफ्ट हो रहे हैं और ये जो OH नेगेटिव है ये भी साइमल्टेनियसली अटैक कर रहा है, we are going to get an intermediate which is going to be unstable. ठीक है? Now this intermediate will immediately break into CH3OH plus Br negative. So better the leaving group over here, more susceptible is going to be the reaction. Okay, so the formation of transition state over here, that is going to be the rate determining step. Why? Because the first reaction which is taking place, that is a slow reaction, and the second reaction which is going to take place, that is going to be a fast reaction. So when we are writing down the rate of this reaction, rate that is going to be equal to K into concentration of CH3Br into concentration of OH negative. So this is going to be a second order reaction. Now in this case it is seen that the reactivity towards of alkyl halides towards SN2 mechanism, that is going to follow the following order. So सबसे पहले methyl halide, as we have taken the example over here, that is going to be most susceptible towards SN2 mechanism. फिर उसके बाद primary, उसके बाद secondary और उसके बाद tertiary. The reason which we can give over here, that is steric hindrance. Right? Now as you can see that there is a transition state which has to be formed over here. So if we have more number of alkyl groups, because if we are taking the methyl halide, this is going to be the structure of methyl halide. Now over here all the three hydrogen atoms which are present, they are going to be smaller. So they do not offer any steric hindrance to the incoming OH negative. Whereas when we are going to tertiary, so you can see over here in case of tertiary there are three alkyl groups. So to each alkyl group there is 3 hydrogens which are going to be present. So this is going to expand its electron cloud or expand its structure. Because the structure is so expanded over here, the incoming OH negative does not find sufficient space to go and attack on the carbon. ठीक है? तो क्योंकि वो कार्बन के ऊपर properly attack नहीं कर सकता, it is not getting space. So that is the reason that tertiary halide that does not undergo SN2 mechanism to a great extent. Right? Smaller the group which is attached to the carbon atom, more is going to be the क्या कहते हैं attack of the nucleophile by SN2 mechanism. Now the question which is going to be asked in this section is कि which of the following halides undergo SN2 mechanism faster? So they will be giving you certain halides in terms of bond line notations. जैसे for example they have given you Cl like this, and the other one which they have given you is Cl like this. So they will ask you which of the following will undergo SN2 mechanism faster. So in this case, this is going to be the primary 1 degree and this is 2 degree. So according to the trend over here, 1 degree that is going to go into SN2 mechanism faster with respect to the second. So this is the type of questions which you generally get in your examination. Okay, so this is the first mechanism. The second mechanism which we are going to do is SN1 mechanism. The second one, that is SN1 mechanism. Now in case of SN1 mechanism, again S is going to stand for substitution, N is going to stand for nucleophilic, and 1 over here that is going to stand as a unimolecular reaction. So in this there is one molecule which is going to react at one time. That is why it is known as unimolecular reaction, and the reaction that is going to take place in 2 steps. Right? In the first step there is a formation of carbocation which is going to take place. ठीक है? So carbocation formation जो होगी, जैसे for example if we are taking CH3, CH3, Br. So this is going to dissociate into CH3, CH3 positive plus Br negative. This is going to be the carbocation which is present. Carbocation always has a positive charge, right? And in the second step, the nucleophile that is going to attack at the carbocation. So we have over here OH. Okay, now over here again the first reaction that is going to be the slow step and the second reaction is going to be the fast step. So kinetics of the reaction may be written as rate is equal to K into concentration of the tertiary halide which we are taking over here. Okay, so rate that is equal to concentration of the tertiary halide. So you can see that it is going to be a first order kinetics it is going to follow. Now in this case when we are looking at the trend, 3 degree is going to be most stable, then 2 degree and then 1 degree. Now why the reason behind this? If you're looking at the first reaction over here, the reaction that is taking place by the formation of the carbocation. Now because the carbocation and the reaction is reversible also, so more stable the carbocation, more the reaction will go in the forward direction and more easily the carbocation that is going to be formed. Okay? So यहाँ पे you know that tertiary carbocation that is always more stable. The reason behind that is that there are 3 alkyl groups which are present over here, and these 3 alkyl groups they have a tendency to release the electrons on the carbon atom bearing the positive charge. So when it is releasing the electrons on this, it is neutralizing the positive charge over here, as a result of which it is making this tertiary carbocation most stable. ठीक है? So more stable the carbocation, more is going to be the susceptibility towards the SN1 mechanism. Now sometimes what happens that whenever a reaction is taking place, in a reaction the product which we get is not the same as the product which is expected. ठीक है? So that is because of rearrangement of the you can say of the atoms to form a more stable carbocation. So there are two kind of shifts which we study over here. This is again a very common question which comes in your competitions. The first one that is known as hydride shift, and the second one that is going to be known as methyl shift. Okay, so let's understand what is this carbocation rearrangement which is going to take place for SN1 mechanism. Okay, so we are talking of carbocation rearrangement. A unique property. This is very important with respect to your competitions because they give you a reaction and they'll ask you what is going to be the final product. So in that case, if it is a substitution reaction, you have to first figure out what is the most stable carbocation which is going to be formed. Okay, so we are going to do two shifts over here. The first one which we are doing, that is known as 1,2 hydride shift. Hydride shift का मतलब होता है that the hydrogen that is going to shift. Now let's say that a reaction which is given to us is something like this. We have CH3, CH, Br and CH3. Now if this, as it is a secondary, you can see this is a secondary this thing, right? So as it is a secondary क्या बोलते हैं उसको alkyl halide over here, this is going to, let's do this from SN1 mechanism. Now in case of SN1 mechanism, the first step that is going to be the formation of the carbocation. Okay, otherwise if you're looking at the product, let's say what should be the expected product over here. If OH negative की presence में it is reacting, bromine should be substituted by OH negative, ठीक है? And the expected product should be this should be the expected product, but it is seen that we do not get this product. So what is happening inside? Let's try and figure out. We have this compound over here, CH, CH3, CH, Br, CH3 in presence of, या इसको ऐसे ही रहने दो. Let's do the first step of the reaction over here. The first step of the reaction is the formation of a carbocation. So we have CH3, CH, CH3, CH and CH3. This is where the carbocation that is going to be formed. ठीक है? Now what is happening over here? If you're looking at the positive charge on this carbon atom, this is going to be a secondary carbon atom. Okay, but if you're looking at this carbon atom over here, this is going to be a tertiary carbon atom because it is attached to 3 alkyl groups, 3 carbon atoms, and this carbon atom is only attached to 2 carbon atoms. We know that 3-degree carbocation is the most stable. So to make the 3-degree carbocation more stable, there is going to be a hydride shift which takes place, which means that the hydrogen that will shift to this carbon atom and the positive charge that will shift to this carbon atom. ठीक है? Such that the carbocation which we get over here now is C with a positive charge, CH3, CH2 and CH3. Right? So this is what hydride shift is, and the first step of the reaction. In the second step of the reaction, the substituent will now go and attack at the carbocation such that we now have C positive, OH negative to give us a compound which is not expected over here. ठीक है, आप देखो कि एक्सपेक्टेड आपका कौन सा था, एक्सपेक्टेड वाज दैट OH should come and attack over here. This is the expected product, but what are we getting? We are getting this product. This is 1 2 3 4, so this is 3-methyl butane 2-ol, but what are we getting over here? We are getting 2-methyl butane 2-ol. Okay, this is just to make the rearrangement such that the carbocation which is formed is going to be most stable. So when you're looking at the products in these kind of questions, then you just need to see that which carbocation that is going to be the most stable. Okay, so carbocation में सबसे ज़्यादा stable होता है 3 डिग्री, फिर 2 डिग्री और फिर 1 डिग्री. In a similar manner, there is 1,2-methyl shift also which can take place. So we're taking another example over here. We have over here CH3, and this is the compound. Okay, so अगर हम लोग substitution reaction कर रहे हैं in presence of OH negative, the expected product should be this should be the expected product. ठीक है, but it is seen over here that there is going to be a methyl shift which is taking place. So let's go on to the first step of the reaction. We have over here CH3, C, this is the reactant. In the first step, the formation of the carbocation that will take place. This is the carbocation which is going to be formed. Now again this carbocation, that is a 2 degree carbocation, right? So in order to make the carbocation more stable, the methyl is going to shift from this carbon. So in the second step, what is going to happen is that this methyl will shift to this carbon and the positive charge that is going to get to this one. So we get a 3 degree carbocation which is more stable. So we have over here CH3 with a positive charge. So this is going to be a 3 degree carbocation which is more stable. Okay, so the actual product which we are going to get over here on attack of the nucleophile this is the product which we are getting. So the nucleophile will go and attack at the 3 degree carbocation. So whenever there is a carbocation intermediate which is going to be formed, please always check the possibility of stability of the carbocation in order to manipulate the product. ठीक है, so पहले आपने देख लेना है उसमें कि क्या कहीं से कोई शिफ्ट हो सकता है ताकि जो कार्बोकेटाइन हमारे पास बन रहा है वो ज्यादा स्टेबल बन सकता है कि नहीं बन सकता है, उसके बेसिस पे आपने प्रोडक्ट को टिक मारना है. Is it clear? This is a very very important concept और इसमें से हमें generally question आता है. So let's just summarize all of them what we've done over here. So when we're doing the SN1 mechanism, in case of SN1 mechanism, the order of reactivity that is going to be 3 degree, 2 degree, 1 degree, methyl halide. ठीक है. However, when we are taking into consideration the halogens, then we have Ri. Always iodine will be most susceptible because it is a good leaving group. Then RBr, then RCl, and least the poorest leaving group that is going to be fluorine. So that is going to be the least. Okay. When we are doing SN2 mechanism, in case of SN2 mechanism, an opposite is going to take place. So methyl halide is going to be more stable than 1 degree, then 2 degree, and 3 degree in this case that is going to be least stable. Although this trend will be followed by both SN1 and SN2. right? So iodide, that is going to be followed by both. Now if in case we are taking primary allylic and primary benzylic halides, right? In both those cases, they are going to show higher reactivity in SN1 mechanism because of resonance stabilization. So let's understand what your primary allyl halide is. Primary allyl halide is your CH2 double bond CH2 positive. This is the primary allyl halide carbocation. Now this is going to be resonantly stabilized. How? That ये जो यहाँ पे double bond है, that is going to shift to this position and the positive charge will shift to this position. So the resonating structure of this, that is going to be CH2 positive CH double bond CH2, because the positive charge or this allyl halide that is resonantly stabilized, therefore this is going to show reactivity according to SN1 mechanism and not according to SN2 mechanism. Same is the case with the benzyl halide. Benzyl halide is what? This is going to be the benzyl halide carbocation. Okay. Now over here, what is going to happen? That this bond will go here, so it is going to show the following resonating structures. And the positive charge, or let's draw it on the direct position over here. We have CH2 positive, okay? So यहाँ पे this is going to go over here and the positive charge will come here, such that we have the first structure as positive charge here and this is the first resonating structure. उसके बाद this will shift here. The second resonating structure which we have, that is double bond CH2. The positive charge shifts. Okay. उसके बाद the positive charge that is going to come here, and finally so you can see over here that both the primary allylic and primary benzylic carbocations, they are going to be resonantly stabilized, as a result of which they are going to undergo substitution reactions with the help of SN1 mechanism. Okay? So this is your SN1 and SN2 mechanism, hydride shift and the methyl shift. The next topic which we are going to do, that is optical activity and optical isomerism. Let's understand these terms now. So we have over here optical activity and optical isomerism. Now when we are doing optical activity and optical isomerism, let's understand first the following terms. Okay, the first term which we are going to study over here, that is polarized light. Now whenever we are taking any source of light, any ordinary source of light, it consists of electromagnetic waves, and these electromagnetic waves, they are vibrating in all planes. Okay, so what do we understand by polarized light? That whenever we are taking a source of any light and we are passing it through a polarizer, okay, that polarizer is the, let's say that's the Nicol prism which we have. Nicol prism is the hydrated calcium carbonate crystal. So when we are passing ordinary light through Nicol prism, it is going to start traveling in only or vibrating in only one direction. Such a light which is going to vibrate in only one direction, that is going to be known as polarized light. So light traveling or vibrating in one direction, that is known as polarized light. Right? Crystalline calcium, how do we make a polarized light? We are sending or we are passing the ordinary light through a Nicol prism, and this Nicol prism, that is going to be what? That is crystalline prism of crystalline calcium carbonate. So when we pass it through this, it is going to be converted into polarized light. Now this Nicol prism, this, because it is converting any ordinary source of light into a polarized light, so we give this a name. Let's say that this is known as a polarizer. So polarizer is the instrument which is going to convert any source of light into polarized light. Okay? Now over here, there are certain substances which have the tendency to rotate the plane of polarized light. These substances, they are said to be optically active substances. So compounds which have a tendency to rotate the plane of polarized light either towards left or towards right are said to be optically active substances. Right? Is it clear? So over here, let's say that, let's try to just explain it with the help of a diagram. This is any source of light which is vibrating in all different directions, right? We are passing this through a Nicol prism. This is known as the polarizer, okay? And we are going to, when it is passed through this, it is going to vibrate only in one direction. So this is a polarized light. We are going to pass this polarized light through a tube which contains the sample. That sample may be any organic substance, right? So when we pass this through this sample substance, it is seen that the sample, if the sample that is rotating the plane of polarized light through an angle theta or alpha, whatever you want to take, through an angle theta, then this substance which is taken over here, this is said to be optically active. Okay, so all substances which are rotating the plane of polarized light, they are going to be optically active. Examples which we can take inside our bodies, we can take example of lactic acid. Okay, lactic acid is present where? It is going to be present in the muscles, right? So lactic acid, that is optically active. That means it has a tendency to rotate the plane of polarized light. Now as we said that the plane of polarized light can be either rotated towards left or it may be rotated towards right. So in this case, all those substances which are rotating the plane of polarized light towards right, they are said to be dextrorotatory. Okay, and they are generally designated by D or by a positive sign, plus, right? Because they are rotating the plane of polarized light in clockwise direction. So that is the reason why we are giving it a positive sign. Then we have certain substances which are going to rotate the plane of polarized light towards left. They are known as levorotatory. They are designated by N or by a negative sign because they are rotating the plane of polarized light in anti-clockwise direction. Okay? So we know what dextrorotatory is, we know what levorotatory is, we know what optically active substances are. Then the next term which you should know in this, the third term which you should know in this, that is molecular asymmetry and chirality. Molecular asymmetry or chirality. Now what do we understand by this term? It was seen, it was observed by a scientist, Louis Pasteur. He observed that crystals of certain substances, they exist in two forms. For example, he had taken a crystal of ammonium tartrate, right? Sodium ammonium tartrate. He saw that they both existed in two forms which were mirror images of each other, right? So according to this, he said that there are certain substances which are mirror images of each other, but if you are trying to superimpose them on one another, they were non-superimposable. And this particular experiment, that was the base of stereochemistry. Okay, so we have one particular branch of chemistry in which we are going to study only the effect of light on certain substances. That has a full which is known as stereochemistry. Later on, there were two scientists which were working onto this. One was J. Van Hoff, right, and the other one was C. Lee Bell. These were the two scientists. They were independently working onto these things, and they said that carbon, it has 4 different valencies, and we also know in carbon that all the 4 atoms, they are going to be tetrahedrally attached. So according to these two scientists, if any carbon that is attached to 4 different atoms or group of atoms, that carbon was said to be asymmetric, or it was known as chiral carbon atom. Now what do you understand by chirality? That I will just do later. First of all, let's take any carbon atom which has 3 different groups attached to it. Now according to these two scientists, this carbon atom which has all 4 groups different attached to it, this was known as an asymmetric carbon atom. Asymmetric carbon atom, or this is known as a chiral carbon atom. Okay? Now what do we understand by chirality? Chirality is a Greek word which means handedness. So where does this word handedness comes from, or the property of chirality comes from? If we are taking our hand and we are looking at, there is a mirror which is placed, and we are looking at the image of this. The image of this is going to be this, isn't it? Right? Now if we are trying to superimpose this image on the hand, what will happen? You taking this hand, you rotating it by 180 degree, only then you will be able to superimpose. Obviously you cannot superimpose it like this, isn't it? So both the planes have to come in the same side. So when you are superimposing this, you can see that the thumb, that is not coming on the thumb, and the fingers, they are not superimposing on the fingers. So this property of a hand to form non-superimposable mirror image, that was known as handedness, or in Greek it was known as chirality. So any carbon atom which is achiral carbon atom कौन सा होगा? Which may have same groups attached, 1 or 2 groups attached may be same. So all those substances which are achiral, they are going to be superimposable mirror images of each other. Let's take an example over here. So if you're taking an example over here, let's take the example of a tumbler. Okay, so we have a tumbler over here. यहाँ पे we have taken a mirror in the center. If you're looking at the image of this is going to be the image. So even if you rotate it by 180, This is going to have a symmetry. So this is going to be superimposable mirror image. So such substances which are superimposable mirror images of each other, they are said to be achiral in nature. Okay? These are said to be achiral in nature. Is it clear? So achiral substances, they are going to be optically inactive. So optically active substances कौन से हुए? Optically active substances are the substances which have at least one chiral center. Okay, so let's take the example of an organic compound over here now. Okay, so this is, let's go on to certain organic substances to show, which are going to show optical activity and which are not going to show optical activity. So we are taking an organic compound A. You know that this is carbon is tetrahedral, right? So there are going to be two atoms or group of atoms which are on the plane of the paper. One is going to go backwards and one is going to point towards you. ठीक है? So ये जो हम लोग dotted line से show कर रहे हैं, that is going behind the board, and the one which we are going to show with a bold line over here, that is going to point towards you. So this is CH3, right? So over here now we have two which are on the plane of paper, OH and OH, or let's take over here H. Now if we place a mirror in this case, then what is going to happen? If you're looking at the mirror image, this is the mirror image, ठीक है? Now you can see that over here, इस वाले कार्बन के साथ there are two groups attached which are going to be same, right? So यहाँ पे when you are picking this up and you're rotating at 180 degree, what is going to happen? CH3 will be superimposed by CH3 and CH3 will be superimposed by CH3. So both of these, they are imposable mirror images. So as they are superimposable mirror images, they are going to be optically inactive. ठीक है? As they are superimposable mirror images, they are going to be optically inactive. Let's take another example over here. So we are taking another example over here. We are taking an example of a chiral molecule which is butane 2-ol. So butane 2-ol may be represented as CH3. Now let's place a mirror. Let's see the image of this. This is going to be the mirror image. Okay. Now we are going to rotate this image. Let's say this is A, this is B. We are going to rotate this image by 180 degree. So we are rotating B by 180 degree over here, such that what will we get? You're rotating this by 180. So what are we going to get over here? Like this you're rotating. So we will get OH on this side. We will have H on this side. ठीक है? And as far as C2H5 and CH3 is concerned, now C2H5 will go at the back of the paper and CH3 is going to point towards you. So let's see, this is C. Now when you putting C on A, it is going to form non-superimposable mirror image, isn't it? So if it is forming a non-superimposable mirror image, therefore this substance that is going to be optically active. Okay, so what is a chiral carbon atom? The carbon atom to which all the 4 groups attached are different, and mostly all those substances which are going to contain a chiral carbon atom, they are going to be optically active. Some more examples which we can take over here is that of so over here, this is the chiral carbon atom which we have. Okay? This is 2-chlorobutane. Then we have butane 2-ol which we have already seen. We have 2-bromopentane. Right? This is going to be 2-bromopentane. Again, this is a chiral carbon atom. The chiral carbon atoms, they are generally depicted by a star. Okay, so all these which are going to have an asymmetric carbon atom, that is going to be optically active. Is it clear? So in a similar manner, we have another term over here which is known as enantiomers. What are enantiomers? Enantiomers also, they are non-superimposable mirror images. They are non-superimposable mirror images. Okay? So they are not only mirror images, they should also be non-superimposable to each other. But it is not always essential that all enantiomers, they may be optically active. Okay, so it is generally said that all optically active substances, they are definitely enantiomers, but all enantiomers may not be optically active. Even if they are forming non-superimposable mirror images, sometimes they are unable to rotate the plane of polarized light, therefore they are going to be optically active. Then the next term which we have, that is racemic mixtures. Now what do we understand by racemic mixture? A 1:1 solution of D and L configurations. 1:1, that is, we have 50% of D and we have 50% of L. So that is known as a racemic mixture. Now what will happen? If any substance that is rotating a plane of polarized light towards right, okay, and we have mixed into it in solution which is rotating the plane of polarized light to the same angle towards right. So the effect that the net effect that is going to be equal to 0. Okay, so racemic mixtures, they have 0 rotation, 0 net rotation, therefore they are going to be optically inactive. They are not optically active. Then we come to another term which is resolution. Resolution का मतलब क्या हुआ? It is the separation of D and L configurations from a racemic mixture. That is resolution. The process of separation of D and L configurations from a racemic mixture, that is known as resolution. Okay? So mostly whenever any optically active substance that is you can say prepared in the laboratory, it may be prepared in the form of a racemic mixture, and then that is going to be separated to give us two different forms D and L, and that is said to be resolution. Okay? And finally we come to inversion of configuration. Inversion of configuration. What do we understand by inversion of configuration? It so happens that sometimes we start any reaction with deconfigured organic substance, right? The reaction that is going to take place, and we get a compound which is L configured. So when D changes to L after reaction, that is known as inversion of configuration. It's just like an umbrella which is turned upside down. Okay, so if we have an umbrella, this is how your umbrella is going to look like. Okay, so let's say that this is D configuration. Once the reaction is going to take place, it is going to, mushroom lag raha hai but hai nahi, it's an umbrella. Okay, so it is going to get inverted with the help of, say, wind. Okay, so this inversion of configuration, ये D से हमने start किया था. After the reaction we are getting L. This is known as inversion of configuration. And after the name of the scientist, it is more commonly known as Walton inversion. Right? The next we have is retention of configuration. Retention of configuration. Retention of configuration means that D that is going to remain D after the reaction. It is going to retain its configuration, and L will remain as L after the reaction. Okay, so looking at all of these, what we have done, let's go on to let's go back onto SN1 and SN2 reactions over here, and let's look at the stereochemical aspect of both SN1 and SN2 mechanism. Stereochemical aspect of SN2 and SN1 mechanism. Now in this case, if you remember, we've just done that SN1 mechanism जो होता है, in SN1 mechanism that is going to be a unimolecular reaction. So it is a two-step reaction. First the formation of a carbocation is going to take place, and after that substitution will take place on the carbocation. Okay. Now over here there is always a possibility that after the reaction there may be both D plus L forms formed. Right? Because the incoming nucleophile is free to attack from the rarer side or the front side, any of the sides. It has no steric hindrance whatsoever. So वो forward direction से भी attack कर सकता है, वो backward direction से भी attack कर सकता है. So we get both D plus L, and mostly what we get over here is a racemic mixture. So if any reaction that is proceeding by SN1 mechanism, that is going to result into a racemic mixture, whereas when we are talking of SN2, it is a bimolecular reaction, and you saw that the incoming hydroxyl group, when we were just doing that, the incoming hydroxyl group that was attacking from the backside, isn't it? Now because it was attacking from the backside, this is going to result in inversion of configuration. So we are starting the reaction with D configuration over here. The product which we are going to get, that is going to be L. Okay. So SN1 mechanism that proceeds with racemization, and SN2 mechanism that proceeds by inversion of configuration. So this is what we have over here, the optical activity and the mechanism of substitution reaction. We are left with a very small part of this chapter. We have 2-3 reactions of haloalkanes, and then we have a few reactions of haloarenes, and after that we finish this chapter. Okay.